Hey, what's up, folks? It's me, your favorite host of your favorite podcast about your favorite musical instrument. In other words, hi, this is Keith Billick, and this is the Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast, the show all about banjos and the people who love them. So if that is you, welcome in. I'm happy to have you here. And as always, there is one particular listener who I am extra happy to have joining us today. That is a gentleman who goes by John Boy Banjo. And Mr. Banjo, or Mr. Boy Banjo, happens to be the VIP Patreon supporter of this episode. John is an overseas UK-based banjo player learning three-finger style on his Deering Calico, and he's already booked for the Sore Fingers workshop next year. So if any of you are headed to that, keep an eye out and thank him for me personally. So thank you once again to John Boy Banjo and all of my other VIP listeners for your support. Now, a few more things about this Patreon thing. First thing, I haven't even told you about it. It's patreon.com/banjopodcast. That's how you sign up to donate as little as a few dollars per month to help support the podcast. Obviously, the show is free for everybody to listen to, but this helps keep the lights on here at Picky Fingers HQ. And you do get rewards in return. Now, one of those rewards is we do a monthly VIP Lounge video meetup call with myself and your fellow VIP listeners. However, if you are hearing this in time, it is a long-standing Picky Fingers tradition to open the December VIP Lounge to all listeners, regardless of your VIP status. Something about being in the giving spirit around this time of year, I guess. So if you want to learn more about that, you head over to patreon.com/banjopodcast. You do not have to be a paid listener to access the information about the VIP Lounge, and the meeting link will be posted. And that is scheduled for Wednesday, December 17th at 8 o'clock p.m. That is Eastern Time. Really hope you, yes you, can join us for that VIP Lounge. One more time for those in the back, patreon.com/banjopodcast. And since it is that time of year, you know what makes perfect stocking stuffers? It's Picky Fingers t-shirts and stickers. Go to banjopodcast.com and check out all of the official Picky Fingers merchandise. Those are going to be the perfect gifts for everybody on your list, I promise. And then one more .com to tell you about. It's pickyfingersbanjopodcast@gmail.com. That's the address to email the show in case you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you want to ask me if you are on the nice or naughty list. Today we have a freshly picked episode looking at the brand new album from Wes Corbett titled Drift. Now, I probably don't need to introduce Wes himself. He has appeared on this podcast several times. Many of you also know him as the banjoist for the Sam Bush Band. But Wes also makes his own original music, and Drift is the latest example we have of that. Now, for fans of instrumental banjo-driven music, there's really not much negative to say about this new album. Wes's skills are on full display, whether we're talking about the creative arrangements, the original compositions, and of course his mastery of playing the banjo itself. And to help him out, he has hired an A-list crew of backing musicians, all of whom you will hear about throughout this episode, as well as plenty of sound clips to give you some tastes of what to expect from Drift. And luckily for me, Wes loves to get down and nerdy about music and how to play the banjo, so it's always a treat getting to talk with him about just that. So, here to discuss his brand new album Drift, it's Wes Corbett. All right, Wes, very nice to see you here to talk about your new album. But before we do, I don't know, catch us up. Everything going good playing with Sam Bush and everything else you've been doing lately?
Hi, Keith. Thanks for having me again. It's really great to be back on the podcast. Yeah, things are going great. I mean, it's hard for things to go too bad if you're playing with Sam Bush, to be totally honest.
You could do worse.
You could do worse. Yeah, it's really fun. It's super fun. I love my bandmates. I love Sam. You know, there's a number of gigs that feel really special every year. You know, Telluride, Merlefest, Rocky Grass, mostly Gray Fox every year. So yeah, I think I'm a lucky guy.
Very good. I don't know if it's luck or skill, but we'll go with some balance of the two. I'm sure they both play a part.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they probably do. Yeah.
Cool. Well, first of all, not to digress too much before we've even started, but the last time we were talking together, at least for podcast purposes, was for your last album, Cascade. And I guess I'll give a few more belated plugs for that. Not only is the album amazing, but we as banjo players, it struck me that we have a lot of resources with that recording. Not only the flagship Banjo Podcast did a feature on it, of course, but anyone who hasn't checked out your Cascade karaoke playlist on YouTube, that's like really amazing, and it's a really neat thing to watch. Sometimes I wonder, like, what if we had that kind of thing for Foggy Mountain Banjo or something like that? It's just crazy.
It'd be rad. I'd be all over that. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun to make. I mean, that was a COVID thing. And for anybody who doesn't know what Cascade karaoke means, basically during COVID, I was teaching at a camp called Banjo Summit. And for one of the concerts, I basically pre-recorded at my bandmate Stephen Mogen's studio. We took video and really nice sounding audio through the original signal chain, actually, that I recorded Cascade through, and took video of it, and I played every track as a whole take. I took new solos on stuff, but played the heads as they were written, and it's all there. You can see all of it.
Yeah, it's basically Wes playing along with like a mix minus banjo version of his own album. And it's just incredible to see because we get to see you do all the backup, all your leads. You know, it's just like the banjo player thing. You get to watch it loud and clear, which is cool. So there's not only that, but then there's also a tab book that was put together by Jake Sheps and Adam Larrabee. And the ones that they do are my favorite tab books because the books are not just like, here's the notes, good luck with that. It's like very editorialized in terms of identifying playing styles and playing cliches, and it's an educational resource rather than just a song book. So banjo players, back to my point, banjo players have a lot of resources available surrounding your last album.
Yeah. And I am working on a tab book for Drift also, by the way.
Through Jake and Adam?
Me and Adam. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Jake will get tagged in a little bit probably eventually, but yeah.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Already looking forward to that. And they have a great one for the Bela's new album, which is just as thorough. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, my tab book was sort of the guinea pig, I guess, so now that we have the visual language that we put together for that book, we worked out those kinks and came up with a lot of the like subtle little changes that we made to like banjo tab and just all those things. The Cascade book was the guinea pig for that.
Yeah, turned out great. So
thanks.
Yeah, everyone go check that out. So before we start with going into Drift, give us an introduction to it. Is there anything significantly different about the preparation or the composing or just the approach to this album compared to Cascade or any other projects that you've done?
Yeah. So I think, Drift is fundamentally different than Cascade in a couple of ways. Cascade was, the tracking of it was 5 consecutive days with predominantly the same band, other than swapping in Sierra Hall or Casey Campbell in the mandolin slot. Drift, I made over the last 3 years. Basically, the theme of the album was kind of a snapshot of what Nashville is to me, right now, I guess. So I didn't fly anybody in for any of these sessions, but living in Nashville, it's not really a hard problem to solve.
Yeah.
But so it's a wider cast of characters. It basically, the way to think about it is that it's 10 tracks. Every track is 2 tracks a day, roughly, and each day is a different band.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I got to call in big hero power on this one too, with Sam and Brian Sutton and Daryl Anger, Todd Phillips, Mike Bubb, Jason Carter. There's a multi-generational aspect to this record that's maybe also different than Cascade. Cascade was kind of like, I want to make a record like with my crew, like with the people that I came up with. And so that's what Cascade was. And then this one is much more of a like, well, I live in Nashville. Why don't I take advantage of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also self-produced this one, which is another fundamental difference. Cascade was produced by Chris Eldridge, and technically I co-produced it. Yeah. So, and that was a big thing. Producing myself was a thing. I'm not sure I'd do it again.
What goes into that decision? Is it the fact that you're just more experienced and more confident in making the best decisions for yourself? Or I don't know. Well, that's what I would guess is the answer, but you tell me.
Yeah. I mean, we could say confident. We could say overconfident. Whatever you want to call it. No, I mean, honestly, arranging stuff and rehearsing it, recording it in the studio, those aspects of producing it myself actually all felt totally fine. I felt a little bit overwhelmed in the mixing process sometimes, just not having, it was me and Sean Sullivan, who's amazing. I mean, he's been involved in so much great music. I think I've just always been part of Cascade was like a 3-person team with Dave Cinco and Chris Eldridge and me. And there is something fundamentally different about having 3 people's ears on everything all the time.
In a good way?
In a good way. Yeah, I think in a good way. I mean, if they're the right ears, which Cinco and Critter are the right ears. But it was a learning process. I mean, I also got to do a number of really fun things in the mixing process of this. Like, I did for like half a day with Sean mess around with mixing the record full analog, like writing faders on the old console at Sean's studio, and like using the analog plate verb at the tractor shed and everything. And honestly, it was really fun. Like I didn't end up using anything that we mixed that day, but I learned a lot. So I think this album I think it has been a big catalyst for growth for me.
And was that going to tape also when you were mixing analog?
No,
or just
it wasn't going to tape.
End?
That's the one thing we were not doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think part of the producer decision was the fact that it was recorded over several years and that it's just maybe not realistic to call up a producer and be like, hey, remember that thing we were working on 18 months ago? Can we do a little more of that?
Right. Yeah, I think there is sort of just a pure logistical aspect to it. I had 4 consecutive days booked to make this record. And that was in, I'm so bad at this, May of 2023, I think. And then at like 2 a.m., the night before the first day, I got it because Paul Cowart was going to play bass on everything. I got a text from Paul. He was like, man, I am so sick. Like, I'm headed to the emergency room. I'm so sick. And he's okay. He's fine, but he was very sick. And so I had to kind of pivot, from 2 a.m. on. And I ended up bringing in Mike Bubb that first day, and then Todd Phillips the second day. But then the rest of the material for days, what I had planned for days 3 and 4 was all going to be Paul, and it was things that we had rehearsed, like heavily rehearsed, and it just wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
It was stuff that I really relied on Paul's like skill with a bow, tracks like Shapeshifter and The Shrouded Valley and those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, this record kind of felt, honestly, I joked around with my wife, Courtney, that this record was a little bit cursed from the get-go. There wasn't a single tracking session, mixing session with me and Sean that didn't get messed up somehow.
Oh, no.
I'm not kidding. Every single session I booked, someone got sick once, myself, and then even like mixing sessions with me and Sean, like something would go wrong. You know what I mean? Like his computer, like just self-destructed, or like it was kind of wild. So I kind of lost steam a little bit. I wasn't planning on this record taking me 3 years.
Yeah.
But when you run into enough speed bumps like that, you just start to get worn out a little bit.
Yeah, this stuff is hard enough when everything goes more or less on schedule. It's already a really challenging project. And if you get bumps in the road, it's like it can really throw you off. So is the album even completely out yet? I know you have like a couple singles. Maybe we shouldn't curse it even more if the whole thing hasn't been released. Like,
it comes out on the 3rd, so it comes out real soon.
Okay, and that will probably be in the past by the time anyone hears this.
It comes out on
hopefully
October.
You don't have word that the recording industry as we know it has collapsed. And
I have not heard of any rumors of auditory Ragnarok. So
All right, well let's talk about the music then. The kickoff tune, A Case of the Mondays. In true banjo fashion, you can't let a good pun go to waste. So I have my own guesses, but why don't I have you talk about Alan Mundy's influence on this tune, and was it just a general vibe, or are there specific musical elements that is rooted with his playing somehow?
Yeah, well, so yes, it is definitely a tip of the hat to Alan, whose playing I've always really loved, and in particular, the first time that I got to actually sit in front of him and hear him play blew my mind. Like, just tone production and time and musicality in a way that I'd kind of almost never heard come out of the banjo.
Yeah,
it just was
agreed.
So amazing. And so, I mean, Case of the Mondays is, it's a great pun. It is a great pun. Yeah. Casey Campbell told me that he was genuinely mad at me for thinking of that before he did. But yeah, I mean, I would say that kind of having that like bouncy major playful thing is part of it for sure. And then also having a certain aspect of like a wider harmonic palette that's more centered in kind of swing world.
That's where I thought it was going. Almost that like peaches and cream type of...
That's actually the tune that Alan, the first time I got to just sit in front of him, I was like, Gabe Hirschfeld was there too. I was like, Alan, is this a terrible question? Like, could you play Peaches and Cream for me? And Gabe was like so embarrassed, actually. Gabe was like, I can't believe, like, you know what I mean? And Alan was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, sure.
It's like you asked him to play Wagon Wheel or something.
Basically. I asked Alan Mundy to play, to play Wagon Wheel. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he humored you. And
as he still does, seemingly.
Granted.
Yeah.
This tune, at least to me, is notable because it also seems to have a C part that shows up like just near the end, which I'm a big fan of anything that breaks out of the A to B part and repeat form. Was this originally intended to be a 3-part tune, or how did that end up that way?
No, it's written as a bridge. I mean, I think it's written on the chart as a bridge as opposed to a C section, which I guess, says something about it. I think I had kind of planned to be like, this tune would be fun to just kind of do the simple bluegrass thing where everybody just takes a whole form and you just hear people take solos over a thing and play some melody. But at the same time, like, I can't help myself, I guess. And I also like something else has to happen for me, for me to feel good about it. Something else has to happen. And I think it was actually also from Banjo Summit that bridge came from this octatonic scale thing that Adam Larrabee taught. Which is basically octatonic means an 8-note scale, and it's basically inversions of a 13 chord with a diminished triad in between every chord tone.
Oh yeah. That old chestnut.
I know, yeah. But that's where there's little diminished triads all over the place in the first half of it. In the first half of the bridge, it repeats the form twice. So you could listen for that, I guess. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of a fun sound, I think, I think it's just those kind of swingier sounds always remind me of Alan. He has such a beautiful command of jazz and swing and kind of Western swing harmony.
100%. Moving on to Salmon Run. Amazingly cool tune, and I found it unique in a way that I kind of couldn't put my finger on. It's something to do again with like the pattern and the cycle of the changes. I love how everything just gravitates back to that like groovy B minor center point, and then all the other chords kind of bounce back and forth off of that. How do you think about the structure of this one? Do you see it as an A part of like D going to B minor and then a B part of G going to B minor? Or do you see it as...
I see it as a 3-part tune.
And then it's sometimes E?
Yeah. That's almost, again, kind of like a bridge. I think I wrote it on the chart as a bridge, even though it happens twice. Technically, it's not happening all the time, I don't know. I mean... the inspiration for that tune comes from an old-time tune called Streak of Lean, Streak of Fat, which is a super cool old-time tune. People usually play it pretty fast, and it's a long form, like Salmon Run is. And I think there's something so satisfying about musical forms that are really long. Like that. There's a power to them that if you write them, when it does finally loop back on itself, it has this like really tremendously satisfying thing. That just the shape of the tune in and of itself is fun. Like just has power to it in the same way that like Hangman's Reel has power to it.
Yeah, or like Elzic's Farewell.
Sure, yeah, totally. Yeah,
that epic sort of sound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, and I think it's, it's fun to I think I found that A section melody first. And it's in standard tuning. It's in D, but the fifth string is still at G. And yeah, I found those kinds of ideas. I think I was also specifically looking for, like, I felt like the record needed another fast tune, but one that was brighter sounding, like brighter harmonically than like Riptide, which is distinctly just minor. It's just very minor. Whereas this one is more in like kind of typical fiddle tune language in a way. And then having Bronwyn and Jason play twin fiddles on that was just rad.
Yeah. I mean, they each blow my mind individually. And then if you get them together, it's like completely bonkers.
Yeah. Shout out to Jason too, because he's playing the high harmony on that track. And it is not easy. Gabe Witcher listened to that track and he was like, "Who's playing the high harmony part?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Jason." And he was like, "Dude, that part sounds hard."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that band was really cool too. I mean, having Casey Campbell and Vicky Vaughn also just makes music feel like bluegrass. Truly, she does. I love playing with Vicky.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about how you're still tuned standard, I didn't really get a chance to dissect this one on the banjo, but it seems like you're largely avoiding the fifth string, at least in terms of using it as a drone, and you do rely a lot on like the first and even the second string almost as a stand-in drone where normally we hear the fifth string ringing out, we now hear a lot of that D string ringing out, and it kind of turns the banjo on its head a little bit in terms of like how we usually just think about it. And I'm hoping you can maybe just talk about how your brain might work in terms of breaking the banjo out of the what I just said.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that makes sense. I would say that, well, so the whole A section, the D major part, the lower part of the melody, it takes place in what I would call like melodic second position, basically. So it's instead of being like where you would play your basic like melodic style G scale, the way we all would.
Like fifth to seventh fret area kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, except that instead of having your pinky on the A note on the seventh fret of the fourth string, I either have my middle or my index on the A note, right? Okay. So then you can think about all of the melodic style, like especially when we're talking about pentatonic sounds, right? We have A on the fourth string, and then we have an open B string, right? And then we have an open D string. We have all these pentatonic sounds just right there using open first and second strings.
Yeah.
And then, shifting up into, again, it's all pentatonic, basically, with some G notes in there, but that I initially had played them with the open fifth string, but I'm actually doing them, those G notes single string.
Okay.
So they don't ring.
Yeah. I can tell.
Yeah, because it sounds kind of, it's just muddy. It's muddy to have a ringing fourth scale degree. I just don't like it.
Right.
So yeah, there's a tiny bit of single string in there, and then use the open first string to shift all the way up to the 14th fret of the fourth string to start the high run, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then given that there's a lot of B minor, then obviously the first and the second string are like totally fair game with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the B minor section,
And the G for that matter, I guess.
Yeah. It's all, I mean, the G1 feels more like normal melodic style, I guess, other than that it's Lydian, if we're talking about G, as in there's C sharps, but it's still just in D major. You can get a B, let's see what, a second inversion B minor triad by putting your finger on the fourth fret of the fourth string. So we have an F sharp and then open second and open first strings. And that's the main kind of catalyst sound of the B minor section is getting that ringing plus Osborne rolls basically bouncing off of either a low open D note or that F sharp.
And you're talking about is that the middle index, middle thumb?
Yes.
Is that what you're calling the Osborne? Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that called the Dillard roll.
The Dillard roll too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's very recognizable.
That's what Dave Keenan taught it to me as the Dillard roll. But Tony Trischka talked to me about that, and he was like, no, the lore behind that is that Sonny Osborne invented that roll while he was playing like a square dance that he couldn't figure out. I forget what tune it was, but he couldn't figure out how to do a certain tune, like to render the melody the way he wanted to. But, when you're playing a square dance, you play the same tune for like 10 minutes. So he had sort of discovered that roll by the end of that dance.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt this incredible episode, folks, but I couldn't go any longer without telling you about a few of the official sponsors of the Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast. Are you looking to improve your playing by learning directly from one of the world's most talented players and instructors? It sounds too good to be true, but it's a reality over at pegheadnation.com. With Peghead Nation's streaming video courses in banjo, guitar, mandolin, fiddle, dobro, upright bass, and ukulele, you can learn bluegrass, old time, and plenty of other styles. PegheadNation.com features a great lineup of courses. This is just the banjo section. You can learn beginning banjo or bluegrass banjo with Bill Evans, old time banjo with Bruce Molsky, the banjo according to Danny Barnes, contemporary bluegrass banjo with Wes Corbett, and banjo in the style of Earl Scruggs or J.D. Crowe with Bill Evans. Now, regardless of which one you choose, it's going to have high-quality video and audio production, downloadable notation and tab, play-along tracks, and plenty of tunes. And the best part is that listeners of the Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast get their first month for absolutely free. Go to pegheadnation.com, use the promo code PickyFingers, all one word, all lowercase, at checkout. That's pegheadnation.com, and the promo code is PickyFingers to get your first month free. The Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast is also sponsored by Elderly Instruments. Elderly isn't just a retail store, it is an institution for banjo players and string musicians of all types. Family owned since 1972, the good folks at Elderly have discovered that the secret to becoming the world's most trusted source for new, used, and vintage instruments, it isn't that complicated. You provide the best selection of high-quality instruments and accessories for all price ranges, and then you stand behind those products with the industry's best customer service. If you can't make it to their Lansing, Michigan showroom, that's okay too. They ship worldwide and are always available to help. Visit elderly.com or call them up at 517-372-7880. And speaking of family businesses, Eric Sullivan of Sullivan Banjos knows a thing or two about that. The Sullivan family has been at the forefront of the banjo-making world for decades now. I bought my Sullivan banjo brand new in 2004, from Elderly Instruments, by the way, and I swear that it sounds better and better every time I play it. The great news is that the famous tone and craftsmanship of Sullivan banjos is still available. Give Eric a call at 502-365-5022 to discuss building your dream banjo today, or visit sullivanbanjo.com. That's 502-365-5022 or sullivanbanjo.com.
Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast is sponsored by Bluegrass Country Radio, America's oldest bluegrass, old-time, and Americana station. Shows are curated by real DJs, not computer algorithms. From classic bluegrass and traditional country to the best current artists, you'll find it all streaming at bluegrasscountry.org and on the station's free smartphone apps. That's bluegrasscountry.org.
Moving on to Eagle Harbor is the next track. The main thing I notice with this is that, like, from the beginning, we have this, beautiful, slower, relatively speaking, banjo melody. And as a listener, I think we all think, like, okay, here's like the ballad tune for this album. And then you get a bit more into it and you realize, like, this is actually grooving pretty hard. And then you realize that it's Sam Bush and Daryl Anger and Todd Phillips. And it's like, of course, these guys are playing with sensitivity and space, but also have this amazing pocket that they just fall into. And you have tons of hours playing with Sam, of course, but what was it like having that combo together where that's their calling card, is this crazy deep, rhythmic ability?
It was super fun. That day was really magical. And that's Chris Eldridge on guitar, too. I
didn't mean to leave him out of the compliments.
I think we both would leave each other out. It leaves ourselves out or whatever. But I think, an interesting little factoid is that was actually the first time that Daryl, Todd, and Sam had all been in the studio together, the three of them, since Tony Rice's Manzanita.
Really?
Yep.
That seems impossible that the three of them would...
I know, yeah. But they've been in the studio in pairs, but never the three of them.
Yeah. Wow, incredible.
Yeah, which was pretty trippy to realize that. Like, Critter, one of us was, like, hey, when was the last time y'all were in the studio together? And they were all like, Manzanita.
Wow.
And like Critter and I kind of, looked like dumbstruck for a minute. They were like, okay, wow. But I
it's like 40 years ago or something.
Yeah. But that's one of my favorite tracks on the record. I think...
it's really cool.
I think the tonal capture is amazing. I mean, whenever you're recording something slower, too, it gives everybody's notes a chance to really like bloom. You can turn the reverb up a little more. When you have space like that, I mean, space is beautiful, and those guys know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So it really is. It's one of my favorite tracks on the record. I don't know. I mean, it's modeled actually after. I mean, and I feel like whenever I say this, people give me a weird look, but. It was kind of my attempt at making a instrumental banjo version of like a Jackson Browne tune.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like a These Days kind of vibe.
Yeah. Cool.
Because he's just like, there's this sort of golden hour spaciousness thing to his music that I've always loved. I grew up with it. My parents played it around the house a lot, and I think honestly that's probably the biggest influence for that track.
Yeah.
And then having the band that we were talking about on that track was so special, right? And they, like I said, they just really know what to do with it. I mean, they're just not,
100%. Yeah, you talked about the space and allowing notes to bloom, and I know that the space being there itself helps with this, but do you have any tips for sustain on banjo? Because banjo sustain is kind of an oxymoron in a way.
Yeah.
And especially when you're rendering a melody using a lot of like slides and bends, the articulation can be even that much more difficult to have each of the notes come out the way you want. And I think this piece is an example of that being done successfully. So do you have any tips for how you get better at that or allow it to happen?
Well, I guess there's a few sort of, I think most of it is right and left hand. But there are a few instrument-specific things, that we could talk about before we get into that, which would be that, like, one, I'm tuned a step low on this track. I'm tuned to F. And which does help. It helps with that kind of, I can't think of a better word, I guess, than like that kind of golden hour sort of sound, right? Just opens the banjo up in a really beautiful way. And F, to me, the key itself also sounds particularly warm and glowy. But I think I have my tailpiece a little higher than most other people. It's further away from the head, as in I have it, I think I have the tailpiece a little bit higher, which increases overtones and gives you a little more sustain. It might not punch through a super loud jam the way you would, want. But I guess ultimately it's like, that's not really what I do. So I don't care about it as much. So that's part of it. I think, but then much more importantly, I think it's just about right and left hand touch. I think one thing that people do on most other instruments, whether it's a bowed or instrument or a woodwind or a picked instrument, people practice long tones, right? And I don't think anybody ever does that on the banjo, but I like to do it. I tell students to do it just to work on just that kind of like raw tone production thing. And it's right and left hand.
Are you able to like talk about the mechanism that you're referring to right now? Like if I'm a student trying to play a long tone, what's going to help me?
Yeah. Well, I think the sort of geometric mechanics of your hands will help or hinder you. As in, I feel like the tone gets bigger and better if there is relief in your right wrist. As in, I kind of think about having like the underside of my palm, if that was a flat plane, it would be parallel to the head, if that makes sense. So that means your wrist ends up a little bit arched. I'm not talking, my wrist is not super arched, compared to like Tony Trishka's or the way like JD's was. But there's still some relief in my wrist. And I think what that does is it makes it move from your knuckles and from the joint of your thumb all the way back at your wrist. The more you depress your wrist towards the head, the more you have to just move with small digit movement, like from your bigger knuckle on your finger.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like, at least for me, that the tone gets smaller. The tone gets kind of pinched and smaller as you pinch your hand, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not as much gravity behind it.
Yeah. But I think, I think that there's also, it's like a double-edged sword, because the bigger your tone is, a lot of the time, the harder it can be to play really fast. And not that playing really fast is the most important thing, but it is something that as banjo players we have to do. So there's kind of there's a pendulum there for me. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, if you've ever played an instrument where like, one note on it sounds massive or something, but then when it comes to like that you need to shred, it feels really hard. Like it feels heavy. The mass behind those notes starts to almost like weigh you down or something, and a thinner sounding instrument is actually easier to play fast on. So I try to find what I think is a medium ground on that.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of another metaphor. If you're towing a heavy load, you want to be in a low gear to get the power, but if you want to move fast, you got to be in a high gear and be a little lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. From an album narrative perspective, does the eagle in the Eagle Harbor eat one of the salmon from the salmon run?
I've actually never even thought about that. I mean, there's a lot of the tune titles have a lot of references to the Pacific Northwest. So Eagle Harbor is the harbor on Bainbridge Island. That I grew up on Bainbridge Island, which is a island across water from Seattle. Eagle Harbor is where the ferry comes in. How do you get to the island from Seattle? And Salmon Run is, I think, just growing up in the Pacific Northwest, you learn a lot about the life cycle of wild salmon and see it in action. So like salmon are, they're born in freshwater and then they go to saltwater and they live their whole adult life. And then they return to the stream where they were born and swim back upstream and then spawn and die.
Right. So that's where you see all the bears trying to catch them and all
exactly.
that stuff.
Yeah. So a little bit that tune is also, the arrangement sort of starts in what I think kind of sounds like a babbling brook and ends in a babbling brook.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. So I think we can be confident in saying that at least one eagle from Eagle Harbor has probably eaten one of the salmon in one of the runs.
Correct.
I'm not taking delight in, but that's just nature playing out.
They're a keystone in the ecosystem in the Pacific Northwest for sure, for everybody.
The next one, Hartford's Bend on the Cumberland. There's a lot to discuss on this one. This is very cool. I guess let's not bury the lead. This one, you got to play one of John's personal banjos. So give us the story behind that.
Yeah. So it's one of John's banjos, and Bela Fleck owns it. And I first borrowed it back in 2021. I borrowed it, or Sam arranged for me to borrow it from Bela to finish off Sam's record that was called Radio John, the songs of John Hartford. Yeah. And Sam played everything on that record. Like it's all him playing every instrument except for the track Radio John, which is a kind of a story song about John's life. And that's the Sam Bush Band. And yeah, I got to play that banjo of John's. It was at the house for like a week. And while it was at the house, I played it a lot because it was just really cool to have around. And I ended up writing Hartford's Bend on the Cumberland that week when the banjo was just living in my place. Cool. The banjo has a set of ugly tuners on it, which I believe were kind of co-designed by Sonny Osborne.
He's associated with them somehow, yeah.
Yeah, I should know more about them than I do, so I'm embarrassed about that. But they're like Keith tuners, but instead of being a planetary tuning mechanism, they are more kind of like the cam tuners, but instead they have a lever that sticks off the side of the headstock that pushes an arm into the string in between the nut and the tuner. So they push the tune, they push the string sharp.
Up until this track, I don't think I've ever heard or seen you use detuners. Was that like a new thing for you to experiment with, or?
I mean, I've had Keith tuners. I have a set, that actually my Uncle Fred, shout out to my Uncle Fred, who is a great banjo player. He gave me his set of Keith tuners a long time ago. But no, I haven't had tuners on a banjo much. But these were really cool. I mean, they were really fun to play with. I also, as a mechanical device, they are kind of impressively consistent. I'm not going to say, any of those tuners, kind of, they all have their own like idiosyncrasies, but these really work pretty well. And then I also figured out that you can hold lower frets, either with your your pinky or your ring finger or whatever, and then flip the lever for the second string at the same time.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's just part of what I was going to ask about. Yeah, okay, that explains a lot.
There's some antics. There's some banjo, there's some banjo antics happening.
Yeah, and the fact that they were that style of tuner also, I think, answers my question I was going to ask about. There's a certain sequence where it seems like you're bending them very slowly.
Yeah.
Which sounds really awesome.
That was Brian Sutton's idea. I got to shout out to Brian Sutton on that. That was Brian's idea.
Oh,
he heard me. I played that tune for him. He came over to just like have coffee and hang out for a second, and he was in the neighborhood. And I was like, "Oh, this is one of the tunes we're going to track, next week or whatever." And I played it for him, and I showed him that, and he was like, "What happens if what does it sound like if you bend it really, really slow but keep picking it?" So that I gotta give credit where it's due. That was Brian.
And okay, so then you're already answering also another question. Was it seems like then he was intentionally being a bit tongue-in-cheek, where I think at the end of his solo he does a bit of a slow bend while he's picking it too thing.
Yes.
That's an intentional nod.
I would assume so. I didn't ask him. He has a very dry sense of humor. I was scared to ask him. No, I don't know. I didn't ask him. I was busy producing, actually, I think is honestly what it was. But
I guess that's a good excuse.
Yeah.
Cool. John was really well known for having these low-tuned banjos in E, so much so that we kind of refer to open E tuning as like Hartford tuning.
Sure.
This one's in D. Is that something that he did? I should know more about Hartford too. Is that something he did often, or did you change it because of something with this tune or?
What Sam says, and Sam played in his band. They were really close. Sam kind of always talks about John like he was an older brother. But as Hartford aged and as his voice changed, what Sam says is that he just kept tuning the banjo lower and lower. But by the end, like that tune On the Road, that's in C. His lowest banjo was all the way down to C.
Wow.
So when I play with Sam, I have a C banjo on stage to play the low tune stuff.
Okay.
Radio John is in D. Hartford's Bend on the Cumberland is in D. But yeah, the lowest he ever went was C.
Got it.
But
okay.
still,
that makes sense.
In terms of intervallically, it's still standard tuning. You're just dropping the whole thing.
It just moves.
Yeah.
It just moves down.
Yeah.
The tide pool jigs. If you tell someone that you wrote a jig, I think everyone's mind goes immediately to like Irish washerwoman. But these are pretty different, and they're all different and original sounding. Let's talk about Brittany and Paul playing on these, because they're incredible at everything, of course. But this track is kind of their main contribution on the album. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I guess. Talk about the choice to have them featured on this set of tunes. Was there something about the intersection of the music with their skills, or what was that all about?
Well, you kind of can't go wrong with them on just about anything.
100%.
I mean, hearing Britt play a melody is about as satisfying as anything can be, I think. I mean, she is just a force of nature. Paul is on the record on some other tracks as well, on Shapeshifter and the Shrouded Valley, and also that on Stratford Blues, the trio with me and him and Daryl. But yeah, so it's a set of 3 jigs. They go B minor, C minor, D major, and initially, I wrote the B minor one, I don't know how many years ago. I probably wrote that in like 2009 9 or something. And Critter and I worked on it a little bit for Cascade, and kind of were just like, it just doesn't quite work, as a standalone thing. So it didn't make the cut, but I always liked it. And then I had the idea of like, oh, maybe since it doesn't work on its own, and I was listening to the Jeremy Kittle Band, the record that won the Grammy, that has Simon on it and like Quinn Vachon and Nat Smith and Josh Pinkham. Is an amazing record. I was listening to that record and thinking like, oh, that'd be a cool thing to try to do. Like I already have that kind of weird B minor jig. What if I tried to write a set of jigs and arrange it Jeremy style? I worked on it for about a year on and off. And I wrote those other 2 tunes. It was Adam Laraby's idea actually to have the melody that's happening as an intro to the B minor, an intro to the tune, and then it happens as a little tweener thing in between the B minor and the C minor, so in between tunes 1 and 2. And it's actually just intervallically quoting the B section melody of the final jig.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to have to listen back more carefully and pick that out. That's really cool.
Yeah. So the phrase is like, ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, that thing. And then that comes back in the B section, but twice as fast. That thing, right? So that was a fun idea of Adam's. So I figured out how to work that through, and then I had that whole arrangement laid out basically, but I didn't write out anybody's parts. Like I had a whole chart and all of the kind of weird stuff that happens at the end, where there's like the whole phasing polyrhythmic thing that's happening at the end. I'd written all of that out, but I didn't write people's parts. So we spent maybe I think like a 3 or 4 hour rehearsal figuring out how to make that whole thing work, and then a whole day in the studio getting that track.
Wow.
In. And it's Brian Sutton playing guitar too, playing like real like Irish style down up guitar playing. I texted him. I think he was golfing with Jason Carter, but I texted him and it was like, "Excuse me, sir, do you jig?" And he was like, "I do." And I was like, you know how to do like down up, like John Doyle style? And he was like, "I do." And like, that's all I needed to know. If Brian said, because that's not actually, it's not a standard thing that like bluegrass guitar players know how to do.
Oh, no. And it's not necessarily intuitive either, even if you,
Yeah. And it's something, I think, living in New England for a long time, there's a lot of inventive Celtic music happening in New England. Mm-hmm. And so I had figured out how to do that on banjo, basically doing like, thumb, double stop, or you can either do thumb, and then index, middle, double stop, or you can do double stop, thumb. Both of those sounds are cool.
What about something that's closer to the down up strum, like a thumb double stop, thumb double stop?
Yeah, that'd be great too. I know Bela's really good at playing jigs that way, playing down up with thumb and index. I suck at it. I'm doing the whole thing. Some of those tunes are kind of more in like blended melodic style and single string, so they sort of just are what they are. You know what I mean? So it's sort of your job to just hope that you're making the rhythm sound and feel good.
Just make it fit somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've probably learned 2 or 3 jigs total in the span of time I've been playing. I should probably put some more time into it, but can't work on everything all the time.
Even if you just work on the backup, I think it's a cool thing. It's one of the few times where you can just play a forward or a backward roll in it, and it doesn't phase.
Yeah, that's true. Which almost in a weird way that sounds strange at this point. When it doesn't have wrong. That like shifting accent. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's maybe that and Eagle Harbor might be my favorite tracks, actually.
Okay. Banjo players are also, on the same topic, I guess. Banjo players are not known for their jig compositions. So I'm wondering maybe how you came up with these, but maybe it's just a good chance to ask you in general about your composing process. And is there any way you can describe if you have a specific method of composing?
Well, I decided I'd sort of given myself the assignment, Tony Trischka style. He's infamous for giving everybody assignments. I gave myself an assignment that was like, okay, I'm going to try to write this set of jigs, and I want it to go B minor, C minor, D major, knowing that would just have a ascending satisfaction to it, right?
Okay.
Just inherently, like that's going to be exciting. I know that it will be fun to listen to if the keys ascend in pitch, and that it will also be fun to listen to if the last one's major. Writing those tunes, I mean, they're actually they lay out pretty good on the banjo. Maybe my right hand is kind of weird, especially on the last one. On the D major one, there's a lot of index led picking happening, so there's weird string crossings probably for other people. But especially the C minor one actually is almost entirely in melodic style. It's really not very hard, and it might be the best one, because I think it's also just like everything, the way everything rings, I think functions really well. I mean, it's
okay.
That one is predominantly like C minor pentatonic with a few other sounds in there.
So to go a little deeper with the composing, you gave yourself this assignment. Is this a matter of noodling until you stumble on something that you think is catchy, or watching some salmon swim upstream and being inspired by that, or
yeah, I mean, I think actually, interestingly enough, like the C minor one, the A section is actually based out of like all the same positions as Boss Fight, as the A section of Boss Fight, which is also in C minor, in open C minor. So I'm recycling some stuff there for sure. Recycling some positions, but I mean, I think it's a mixture of letting the banjo do some of the work for you, and then also making sure that your ear is really attached to it. So I think I was probably doing a mixture of finding things that ring and that feel good on the instrument, and then singing connector pieces, using my voice to find those.
Oh, okay. That's another step, is rather than noodling on your instrument listening for something, is divining whatever this thing that you want to hear is, and then rendering it to the instrument rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I think you always run the danger of writing and or just playing with your eyes. And especially on the banjo, because everything is so non-linear, right? We sort of grasp at straws for the things that do make sense to us. So if you can divorce yourself from the instrument a little bit, then you're less tethered to the things you already know.
Yeah.
And more tethered to just something that's lyrical.
Yeah, music.
Yeah. Like Yeah, take the banjo, but set it to music. Yeah. Um,
Oh my God. That just boils down the whole genre right there.
I that's a Matt Glazer quote. I can't take credit for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Spinal Tap thing of like, listen to the sustain. I don't hear it. Well, you would if it were playing though.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to pause there with like the track by track. I want to leave some things up to mystery for people to discover, but
Sure.
suffice to say the whole thing is amazing. But if there's any other like banjo specific things that you'd like to point out for, any interesting tidbits, and or in the spirit of giving you an assignment, something I've heard you talk about in the course of banjo exploration is a lot of these triad pairs is something that you use a lot. Are there any like songs that you can point to where that might be a device that you used either in the melody or solo section?
Yes, I think so. Let's see here with the triad pairs. Well, one thing I mean, if it's okay to do a shameless merch plug, I did get vinyl pressed this time, which I'm actually really excited about. Honestly, it's my favorite way to listen to the record so far.
Do you have those already?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they sound good.
That's
cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think they sound great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's see here. I think maybe you were asking about finding some specificity on like what's different between Cascade and Drift. And for me, listening to my own playing, which I've had to do a lot, right? Through mixing and mastering and editing and everything. I think there's a muscularity to my playing now that wasn't there before.
Huh.
From playing with Sam, where like Sam plays hard and plays high energy. The shows I'm exhausted. Like if I play a 2 or a 3 hour set with Sam, I'm really tired. And that's good. It's like, it feels good to be tired like that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that I wasn't as good at matching the band's energy as I am now. When I first joined, I think that was the thing that I needed to work on the most. And I think this record reflects some of that. I think that there's like there's just a little bit more of a like muscular quality to my playing compared to Cascade.
And I assume you don't just mean that you are playing louder or, something where muscular could mean that to some people. It seems like you maybe just mean more intentional or with like a more decisive arc to things.
Yeah. I think, more committed. I guess maybe one thing that I've also thought about too is, playing with a drum kit and playing pretty loud shows with Sam. Some of the kind of really small nuance that I used to include in live shows just doesn't work playing with Sam. Like when I was playing with Joy Kill Sorrow or with Molly, the dynamic range, the low end of the dynamic range is so much lower than playing with the Sam band. And so there's certain aspects of things, I guess, that essentially like if something is too subtle, it gets lost. And so I've had to kind of bolster the less subtle side of my playing in figuring out ways to make the less subtle side of my playing more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
It's not a value judgment. I think it's just context is everything.
Yeah.
Actually, to quote Matt Glazer again, who he's the founder of the strings department at Berklee and was one of my bosses while I worked there. He runs the American Roots program now, but he was always telling students never to shoot to bring your highest highs up. Always aim to bring your lowest lows up. And
I love that.
And, and I think this is a good example, where I got in the band and I was like, oh man, wow. Okay. Like I need to step it up. Like I need to step up taking long solos, having things that I'm excited about, ways to end those solos that feel exciting to me and exciting to the crowd.
Yeah.
All of those things, I think I've put it, I know I put a lot of time into getting better at that.
Uh-huh.
And I think it shows in this record, even in a more subtle kind of, microscopy thing. It's still all those
that doesn't have a drum set, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah. But those new skills and that thing still comes with you. I think Sam, you can't help but amp up a little bit when you're playing with Sam. It's just part of his thing. He kind of just makes everything, he turns the knob up, 2 clicks or something.
Yeah.
And it's not like everybody plays harder or everybody plays faster. It's just, there's just more better energy.
Right. It's kind of like a really good sports coach. Like you want to play better so that he's proud of you, maybe is the wrong way to put it. But like,
yeah,
you want to do your part and he's doing his part. So
yes, he is.
You don't want to leave him hanging.
Exactly.
How much of this album is improvised? At least on your part. Maybe you can't speak for anyone else, but at least in terms of the banjo.
In terms of the banjo playing, most of it. I mean, in terms of solos, yeah.
Right.
No, all of it. I didn't work out any solos on this. It's all it's all improvised. Yeah,
that's incredible.
A lot of it is whole takes. Like a lot of those solos are whole takes. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
It's really impressive. What was the studio setup from like are you all in the same room? Or are we talking ISO booths for everybody or what was that all about?
Yeah, everybody's in isolation. A big chunk of the record was recorded at the Tractor Shed in Goodlettsville, Tennessee with Sean Sullivan. And there's a live room that guitar and mandolin would be in. And then I was in like a booth off of the live room that had sight lines to everything. And then bass was in the biggest booth, and then fiddle was in the second biggest booth. Yeah, so I mean, it's headphones, no click. We didn't click anything.
Okay,
but
still isolated, so you could get
I mean, because actually some of these tracks, Case of the Mondays, Salmon Run, Eagle Harbor, Hartford's Bend on the Cumberland, Riptide, and Crane Island, all were tracked in the studio with no previous rehearsal.
Dang.
Yeah, which is a testament to everybody else on the record. I mean, I sent them melodies and charts a few weeks in advance. But yeah, we just showed up and I had an arrangement and we did 2 tracks a day and we made it work. And, truly it's a testament to how insanely talented the people who are, I convinced to play with me are.
Yeah, it's extremely impressive. They're incredible musicians. And speaking of that, is there anybody who we haven't like shouted out yet? Like, is Casey on this too?
Yeah, Casey's on Salmon Run, Shapeshifter, and The Shrouded Valley.
Okay. And I don't even know if we've said Sierra Hull's name. She's
Sierra's on
as
a bunch
good as it
of
gets.
things. Yeah, she's on Case of the Mondays. She's on Riptide. She's on Hartford's Bend on the Cumberland.
Yeah. Incredible, folks.
Justin Moses on Dobro. On Case of the Mondays and Riptide.
Staying with the recording stuff, what was talk about the banjos you used? We already covered the Hartford banjo, and I understand you maybe had a little bit of an amalgamation of some other banjos, but to the best of your ability, what kind of banjo are we hearing on the record?
A big chunk of the record is a 1937 Gibson TB1 conversion with a Burlisle ring in it.
Okay.
And then Salmon Run is a 1930 TB3 that I found in a pawn shop last year.
That doesn't still happen.
I know,
it does?
Right? Yeah. Yep. Actually, Stephen Mojan, my bandmate, found it. He sent me a picture, and he was like, I don't know if this is real, but it sure looks real. It was an arch top. It wasn't a flathead. Let's be clear. That would be an insane find, but it's still a pretty insane find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it at pawn shop prices, or was it Anywhere.
It was a very good deal. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Staying with the studio sound line of questioning, what microphone setup are we using? And I know it probably maybe changed based on the studio, but
it actually was all the same. I brought the rig. I borrowed a lot of it from Dave Cinco, actually.
Even better. Okay.
So it was an R84 that I own, which I also used an R84 on Cascade. And then one of Dave Cinco's Neumann KM86s. And then also an AKG 460, which is just kind of a cheap, bright mic that Sean had one that had been modded. I don't know exactly what had been done to it, but we leaned on that a little more than I would have thought. I was really glad to have it. It just had a really elegant kind of shimmery thing within the mix of all of them. And then everything was tracked through Cinco's Gordon 6s preamps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which are, I think they're made here in Nashville. It's like, very boutique, like lightning fast, just like clean, clear, powerful preamps.
Yeah, cool. Any particular configuration in terms of those microphones, or were they all clustered and you just kind of balance as needed?
Yeah, they're all clustered together, pointed at the, if we think of the head in quadrants, the quadrant that is next to the tailpiece and off of the treble side of the bridge.
Okay.
All like diaphragms lined up as close as you can get them, so you don't have to deal with any phase issues. And all of the diaphragms, I think we've talked about this before, all the diaphragms
parallel to the head,
parallel
right?
to the head. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then mostly just getting tones just by changing the blend. There's a little bit of a little bit of multiband compression happening. A little bit of EQ overall, but mostly it's just maybe Sean had a compressor running. Most of the time with players like you have on this record for acoustic musicians, if an engineer knows what they're doing, if they're running a compressor, it's basically not on.
Yeah, it's like emergency limiter kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool. Well, the whole thing sounds amazing.
Thank you.
And really the parts that I found interesting that really tell me that it's well recorded and well mixed is, like, for one thing, the bass. Like, you can hear, it's weird how difficult it often is to hear like the pitches of the bass rather than just like low frequency noise.
Yeah.
And you can pick out the bass notes on this thing really well.
Oh, good.
And then also the Hartford banjo. I feel like oftentimes those can get swallowed up by just that frequency range.
This has a ring. It does have a ring. It's not a wooden ring.
Whatever it is, that thing comes through, and that's not always a given with that type of tuning.
Yeah,
cool. And then to go back to this is tying a few other things together for me. The fact that you, what did you call Jackson Browne music? Golden hour.
Golden hour. Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard that before. Does that explain anything about the album cover? Because I was trying to figure out where I knew that from, and I kept thinking, like, is this a Kenny Loggins looking thing?
That's amazing. I
feel like it reminds me of something, and I just could not think of it.
Don't really know about that. I think like we're shooting for something sort of 70s style, and also like a very 100%. Warm color palette. And the photographer, her name is Hannah Gray Hall. She's been on tour lately with Sierra Farrell and with Jesse Wells. She's amazing. She's an amazing photographer. She shoots everything in digital and in film. And yeah, she's really great. I mean, I was looking through photos with my wife, who also helped me name the record too. She named Cascade too, and she named this one as well. Just from like looking at all of the tune titles, basically. and saw a lot of water, basically, and just kind of we started kind of digging through synonyms, essentially, and ended up with drift. And really liked it. But I think, we were scrolling through the photos, and Courtney was like, "This one, that's the cover of the record," and I was like, "Really, that one?" And she was like, "Yep."
I love it. I love it. I didn't mean to compare it to Kenny Loggins as any kind of insult. I'm trying to say it really like captures a vibe.
I mean, Hannah has a really beautiful eye for live show photography too. I mean, you should check out her work.
If she's the one doing the Sierra Farrell stuff, I've definitely seen a lot of that. I'm friends with a lot of that band, so I kind of follow what they're up to. So yeah, I've definitely seen her work then, if that's who's doing it.
Yeah, at least recently, maybe in the last like 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Where were you?
Oh, no. I mean, the record's also laid out by the same guy that laid out Cascade and laid out the Cascade tab book, my friend Ty Nowicki in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anything else we forgot to talk about with this?
Well, I am really excited about that I got vinyl pressed this time. I'm really excited about. I think it is for me actually the most beautiful way to listen to these mixes. It's so cool what that medium does. It's my first time being involved in that process. Like I've never really been able to listen to the difference between digital masters and how they transfer to vinyl before. So that's been really cool, and I love what it does. I wish everything sounded like that.
Now, let me ask you this, especially because you're somebody whose ear is tuned into some of those production elements. Did you do separate masters for digital and vinyl, and what do you have to amp up, like the clarity and brightness for the vinyl? What is the... I've never had to do it. So
yeah, Dave Glasser mastered the record, and he mastered it for vinyl. So honestly, when I listen to them, they're not that different. I think maybe there's some like lows and low mids that it felt like maybe everything feels a little rounder or something. But I mean, they're not that different. Okay. I can't speak to that in a very informed way.
Okay.
When I A-B'd those masters, I was like, okay, these aren't that different. And it's been a minute. It's been like 4 months, Right. So yeah, I wish I had something more.
I was just curious.
No, it's a good question.
What website might people go to if they want to purchase said vinyl and or tab books or CDs or whatever else is going on?
So this record is coming out on Adhyaropa, which is a small label in New York, run by a guy named Joe Brent, who is a gem of a human, truly. It's been great working with him, and you can purchase the purchase the physical copies and digital copies of the record through Bandcamp, which is actually, and there's a redirect on my website, which is wescorbett.com. If you want to buy Cascade or the Cascade tab book, those are still on my website on wescorbett.com. Okay. And then the tab book is not done yet. Adam and I are working on it. But they're a labor of love, an intensive labor of love. So
yeah, but will be worth it. I have no doubt, based on the other work that you've done with them and what they've done on other projects. So
thank you. Yeah, I'm excited.
Very cool. All right. Well, as you know, I'm a huge fan, so it's been a real pleasure to talk to you about this, and I've been enjoying it and will continue to do so. So thanks for putting this all together for us to listen to. It's amazing stuff, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Keith. Truly, thank you for having me again, and thanks for listening to the record.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. That's going to do it for that interview and this episode of the Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast. Once again, special thanks to John Boy Banjo, this episode's VIP Patreon supporter of the show. head over to patreon.com/banjopodcast, support the show with just a few dollars per month, and also get information about the all-listener VIP lounge. That's coming up Wednesday, December 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So once again, patreon.com/banjopodcast. Email the show, pickyfingersbanjopodcast@gmail.com. That's going to do it for me. I will see you all next time.